Today I'm going to cover 5 topics during this presentation. I'm going to start by talking about the goals, aspirations, and objectives that I have for myself as an instructional designer. I will also cover the goals, aspirations, and objectives that I have for the students that I create courses for. These goals drives my inspiration to create effective learning experiences for all of my students. Next, I'm going to cover different instructional design methods, which include design models and learning theories that drive the courses I create. Then I will cover how I implement and use technology to encourage student engagement and enhance the courses for my students. Next, I will talk about the importance of assessment and how I implement assessment strategies throughout my courses to help the instructor and students. And finally, I will talk about my professional growth and how I plan on continuing my growth as an instructional designer. As an instructional designer, I want to ensure that the course I develop have purpose, meaning, and applicable content. As a student, there's been nothing worse than taking a pointless training or class. I want to ensure that the courses are rigorous for students to keep them engaged with the content. I want to make sure I'm creating courses that support students of all backgrounds and abilities. This means utilizing universal design for learning guidelines and knowing the population of learners I'm designing for. I want to make sure that I'm using appropriate learning theories, philosophies, and design methods to develop the courses. This will help make the course flow, and activities and objectives and assessments are all aligned. Finally, I want to make sure that my students are prepared to use Web 2.0 tools and help them stay current with utilizing different technologies to make them well-rounded students. When designing a course, it's important to always consider the learning population I will be serving. No matter the age group or group of students, I want to make sure that all of my students feel empowered to share their voices and their thoughts. I want them to be leaders in the course and feel confident in what they are doing in the course. I want students to feel supported when they take one of my courses. Students should have all their learning needs met and make sure that my course is accessible to all learners, no matter what their background may be. When students feel supported, they feel more confident in the work they are completing. I want my students to feel that they are provided with clear expectations and objectives. This will allow them to follow the goals of the course and know what they are working towards. This will help motivate students by being able to see the big picture of the course and see what they are working towards. Finally, by the end of the course I develop, I want to make sure my students are able to take that knowledge from my course and apply it to their future. If I'm creating training courses for teachers, I want them to be able to take what they have learned and apply it to their classroom. I want younger students to be able to apply what they have learned to future courses or topics. It is important for instructional designers to understand that there are many different design models and theories because they support different learning populations. It is important to understand this because not all course topics or student populations are the same and have different needs. The two instructional design models that I have enjoyed working with the most have been Ganji's 9 conditions of learning and the Assure model. Robert Ganji's 9 conditions of learning helps organize the entire cognitive learning process for students. The principles help organize learning experiences for students to engage with the materials and aligning with the course objectives and activities and assessments. I really like how student-centered the conditions are, which help me as a designer to design and develop learner-centered content, making sure no learner is left behind in the process. The Assure model has been one of my favorite models to use when designing courses for K-12 learners. K-12 learning populations are very diverse, and the Assure model utilizes analyzing the learners as the first thing to do before starting the course design. K-12 students have standards and objectives that curriculum needs to be aligned with. For all courses, it's important to consider media materials that you are exposing your students to. The Assure model helps to keep everything aligned and have a purpose in the course. Finally, the most important part of the Assure model is the evaluate and revise portion. Students are not the only ones who need to be assessed during the learning process. The course should be evaluated by the students to let me as a designer know what worked for them and maybe what did not work for them. This allows me to make changes to the course so that future students do not have the same problems. The multiple intelligence theory suggests that there are several distinct forms of intelligences that each individual possesses in varying degrees. This means that each learner learns best in one of 7 different forms: linguistic, musical, logical, mathematical, spatial, body kinesthetic, interpersonal, and interpersonal. By tapping into these different intelligences throughout a course, each student will have the opportunity to be reached and hopefully help better understand the learning material. It is also important to have the different intelligences present to help students through their weaknesses and make them stronger learners. This exposes them to different types of learning to excel in and how to persevere through challenges they might face. In 1980, Seymour Papert describes how learners need to produce learning artifacts to have powerful learning occur. And this is the building blocks of cognitivism. Cognitivism is using the mental process to learn new material. It is important to connect to prior knowledge and build upon that. Thinking skills, knowing material, and problem-solving skills are used to reach new knowledge. Students learn through active participation. They are not just listening to the speaker talk through the material. It is important through the design process to include mental activities to activate the students throughout the learning process. Web 2.0 skills and technology allows students to collaborate and communicate with each other, their instructor, at any time or any place. These tools also allow for students to show their learning in various different ways. Web 2.0 tools help facilitate learning going on in the course, and they do not replace the learning and instruction. Web 2.0 tools help enhance the learning process. Web 2.0 tools can be used in the brick and mortar traditional setting, flipped classroom setting, or hybrid setting, or the completely online classroom setting. Technology will be used in my courses to keep students engaged with the content. They will be able to use different tools to express their learning. In my course design, I like to incorporate ways for students to communicate with each other and share their thoughts. Technology in my courses also provide a way for students to be creative, giving students different avenues to show what they know, tying back to the multiple intelligences theory. There are 3 different assessments I use in my course, the first being pre-assessments. These pre-assessments help me see where my students are with the content knowledge. This will help me develop their differentiated goals based on the objectives. These assessments will show how students grow at the end of the course. Formative assessments help me gauge how students are doing with the new learning content. This will help the instructor meet with students and help them with misconceptions or misunderstandings they are having with the material. As a designer, this will also help me with the design of the course. If during the course I see students are having trouble with something, I can go and fix it for the future and provide current students with extra support. Finally, summative assessments help see how students have grown from the beginning of the course to the end of the course. Summative assessments can be exams or projects that occur after all the instruction on the topic has been completed. They show student growth and success throughout the course. To continue my growth as an instructional designer, I'm going to stay current in the profession by using social networking to stay relevant and up to date with other instructional designers. This can come from Twitter and professional organizations. I can also look at other courses designed using Articulate products to give me ideas and see what other designers are using to help their students and courses be successful. I can post as well on social networking apps and websites what I'm doing for my students and in my courses. This will allow me to get feedback from others and collaborate with other designers. Just as it is important for my students to practice self-assessment through the learning process, I need to self-assess my courses as well. This comes from utilizing rubrics and other reflection tools to help make my courses stronger. As an instructional designer, I believe it is important to remember that all of the designs need to be student-centered. This allows me to keep the learning engaging and accessible for all students. This will help them be successful and enjoy the learning process. It is important to use research-based methods and theories when designing courses. This will help me stay organized and have clear goals and objectives for my students. This will help align all of the activities, assessments that my students complete. Finally, staying informed and current is important to utilizing effective technology to keeping students engaged and enhance the learning in my courses.